So this presentation will be a bit more technical. And this morning we showed that we are building. We have to confess that in Rail Baltica we are not superheroes, so we need to be supported by the best. And we saw that regarding energy, you have receiving on these services really the best services. We will show that we are doing exactly the same approach for the CCS, which is not only signaling and the command and control system. And this approach of being hands-off, that means we take the base, we understand what is the complexity, we look for simplicity, and we are surrounded and we contract to the best services to ensure the best quality for this project. So CCS system is not only signaling, it's a command and control system, which include, and the very you see on this slide is a very typical architecture that we have with 3 + 1 layer. The 3 layers are coming from the track side and the way side, all the equipment that are related to ETCS, and the beacons, and then the signals, the line equipment unit, what are really at the track side level, interfacing also through the air to the onboard equipment that sometimes we omit, the onboard equipment on which we have obviously some interfaces with the radio system and the vehicle onboard system. Second level is the interlocking system. How do we route the train? And the third level is a transmission system, the train management system, which is a control system in which you find out the automatic train operation, the very classical functionality on a control command system. So the architecture is nothing brand new, very typical architecture. Ancillary system is what we call a vehicle health monitoring, and everything which is providing information regarding the health of the equipment that are using for this architecture, interlocking obviously, and TCS, and then transmission and communication. Transmission and communication, the last decade, 20 years, are taking a prominent role in the railway, really creating, and we'll see, a backbone of this architecture. What is the RTMS solution? Again, we want to be at the state of the art, and we'll be compliant, obviously, again, we'll be compliant with the latest European standards that will be enforced at that time, also dealing very closely with Europe regarding obsolescence and the evolution of the different baseline, different standards that will be put in place. Surely the baseline 4 for the CCS and TSI. FRMCS, we discussed slightly shortly this morning regarding GSMR, FRMCS. We did not mention GSMR, but we explained this morning that the interface, at least will be a period where we'll have to deal with both systems, compatibility of both systems, ETCS level 2, that means without signal. Eurolinks, the links, the interlocking principle that we want to apply to simplify also the different signaling principle, interlocking principle for routing the train, and traffic management system version 2.9. So nothing brand new, documentation and the status of all this element of the RTMS system are available. So the idea here is that we want to stay, when we install it around 25, 26, this system, we want to be at the state of the art. So we'll see exactly how we did with the baseline and the revision that will be enforced at that time. Typical architecture of the subsystem, nothing brand new there, it's really small. So again, single track, single design concept. We go back to the simplicity and the unicity of the system. We don't want to have interfaces between the 3 countries regarding the signaling system. One system, one railway, one operating rule, one safety. We want to stick to that. That's what we call the global project layer, the one ensuring the consistency in the operation and in the safety of the railway. We look at the sustainability and life cycle. We look also something which will be really specific to this project, how we interface with the 1520 in terms of physical interfaces at the gauge level, and also in terms of movement when the 2 networks are crossing to each other. Concentration of equipment. You know that the cost of the cable along the track is one of the key elements of the cost and creating a constraint in the maintenance. We are also targeting something very specific, zero copper. We want to communicate through fiber optic to the key element along the line and avoid any copper cable along the line. And obviously, when we don't use copper cable to feed our equipment that are distributed along the line, we are looking at having a local production of energy. So this architecture, this CCS subsystem breakdown structure, very classical, and the TCS, CCS element, then the system itself, traffic management, the communication system, ancillary station system, everything that you find out in a station, that means everything related to passenger information, CCTV, and the access control, and so on. And then the interface with the civil work, which is mainly providing space for all the key elements of the signaling system. That means the cableway and the gears and all elements that are interfacing with architecture or a cable management system. Operation in the three countries, again, we go back to the same principle, one unique set of value, one set of engineering rules through the mean of processes, and one set of operating rules. What I explained this morning, again, that when we look at mitigation of the risk, we look at the risks that will be covered by the system and the one remaining that will be covered by operating rule. So it's a safety element in ensuring that this operating rule, because we'll have only one system, will be the same applied in the different country. Okay. Next one, we go to the part that may interest you more. Sorry. It's a time scale. That means the deployment strategy. We are hands-off. That means that we are currently recruiting what we call the CCS engineer. That means the engineering that will develop this CCS scope for us. And they will bring the best expert in this area for developing all the requirements, developing the contract for the CCS system, providing us assessment of the architecture and the contracting strategy and procurement strategy. And based on that, and you see on this time scale that this is the phase where we are in. We are almost there to sign this contract with the CCS engineer. Almost there. We expect to sign it before the end of the year. Then the next stage, what Jean-Marc mentioned, we are copying exactly the same scope that for ENA in terms of logic. We'll have a preparatory phase and then a work implementation phase. In the preparatory phase, our CCS engineer that will prepare all the radio planning in terms of bandwidth that we'll have to require for the different telecommunication authorities, the development strategy, the concept design also to see how it interface and interface with the civil works that will be starting logically long before the CCS is there, and develop all the activities supporting the procurement and the selection of the future design and build CCS contractor, the real one. And then this one in 2024 that we target at the end of 2023, we'll have the final winner from this procurement process, and we'll go into the generic design with the CCS contractor, generic design construction, and so on. So that's the overall organization, the way we are organized, delegating to a PMC, an engineering services, the management of this activity, same scope that we do for ENA, the same that you have done for RAMS, the same that we are doing for ASBO. That means taking the best expertise on board of Rail Baltica and providing us the best solution. So that's the time scale. If we look now on this time scale that will take some time, what are the potential changes that may happen in the development of this CCS? So we have previously in 2017-2018 a study looking at the trend that may impact the trend in the market that may impact the solutions that we are looking at in terms of regulation. And we see that in a period, in a time scale of 1 to 3 years, the purpose or the intent to move to the rail is quite dominant in Europe, and this green aspect and this interest for the rail, even for a night train, is increasing. We consider that is not only a temporary interest in the rail, that it will be a long-lasting, at least up to 10 years trend to what will benefit the rail. Digitalization, obviously, that we'll see that we have a backbone, that will install a backbone on this communication backbone that will benefit, obviously, the communication for the very specific of the railway, but also for any other communication that are surrounded or that are adjacent to the railway. So for this, we'll see also, we are quite confident that this digitalization will be developed for specific application in the railway. Market consolidation, we noticed recently that some big players in this signaling or railway system area are consolidating their position, and obviously we do prefer to have flexibility in the procurement, having more candidates than very few candidates. That means the more open market is more beneficial for us. We don't see exactly where we are heading to in terms of consolidation. but we foresee that this consolidation will carry on. Automation, in terms of reducing the scope, you may notice that recently we heard about the Japanese having wanted to automatize the driverless high-speed train. That means that this kind of automation will sooner or later happen in a railway. If you are able to have a driverless car, surely we will have one day driverless train. So automation, not in the 3 years, but the long-term automation is also something that will be developed in the railway. And 5G networks, obviously, communication, digitalization, it's also something that was not natural in the previous railway, but is now really at the heart, which is in the core of the railway. We have to develop a railway taking in consideration all means of communication. And this fiber optics that will run on this 700 kilometers from Poland to Finland will really create opportunities and means of communication on which we can develop applications and services. The last slide. What do we foresee in terms of split for the suppliers? For the time being, is not yet decided. You know, the CCS, we are waiting for the advice analysis from our CCS engineer to give us the best approach in terms of procurement. But for the time being, what we foresee, we can split the CCS system in 4 packages. One regarding the very basic ETCS system and trackside equipment and everything related to the spacing of the train. Then we'll have this backbone and this fiber optic transmission network. We'll have the radio system, 5G, and we'll have the train management system. So that's the 4 packages, and obviously they are not precluding each other. So we anticipate to have one supplier at least for each subsystem, but tenderers can bid for different subsystems. That means we can have one tenderer bidding for the 4 packages if they want, or 2 of them, or 3 of them. So we will see what will be the recommendation of the CCS engineer, but that's the kind of proposal or aspect in the tendering process and procurement that we will consider. This is it. I take my 10 minutes. Signe, I'm good.
Good.
Gert?
Thank you, Marc-Philippe.